this video, we'll be looking at how adjustment layer works in Affinity. Before beginning the video, until now, if you have found the videos in the channel Affinity till helpful, please hit the subscribe button to get more tips and tricks related to Affinity. Now, without any further ado, let's get started with the video. To access the adjustment layer property or to add an adjustment layer, we can navigate below the layers panel and click on adjustment icon right here. After clicking on adjustment icon, you can see that we have different options of adjustments that we can add in our layers panel to this image. The next way of adding an adjustment layer is by navigating above to the main menu item above and clicking on pixels. After clicking on pixels, navigate below to new adjustment layer, and inside the new adjustment layer you can see that we have different options which we can add according to our preference for different adjustment layer. So for this image, I'll be adding a black and white adjustment layer. And as soon as I click on black and white adjustment layer, now you can see that a black and white adjustment box pops up. And also a new black and white adjustment layer has been added above our current image in the layers panel. So now let's adjust individual red color property in the black and white adjustment box. Now click on the slider and simply drag it to the left to make the details of the candy pop up in terms of black and white view. And next, let's also adjust the property of yellow color inside the black and white box. Simply click and drag to make the shadows of each of the candy much more visible. And likewise, now let's change or tweak the blue property in order to accentuate the remaining shadows that are created on the surface where the candy resides. Now after tweaking the value of red, yellow and blue, let's close the black and white box. Now you can see that we have applied the black and white effect to our image by using the black and white adjustment layer. Next, let's make the middle or any of the candy in the image pop up. In order to do that, let's add a layer mask to this particular black and white adjustment. So click on this layer mask icon or mask layer icon in Affinity inside the layer panel by selecting the black and white adjustment layer. Now as soon as we click on mask layer icon, you can see that a new mask layer has been added to our black and white adjustment layer right here. Now let's select a brush tool. Let's make sure that the foreground color is set to black because we want to get rid of the black and white adjustment effect from a certain portion of the image. Now make sure that you have actively selected this layer mask icon right here in the black and white adjustment layer. And after that, now let's paint over the candy that we want to pop or that we want to make it more visible in the image. So let's brush over the candy. So I'll simply brush over the candy like so. As you can see here, I'll simply brush over the candy. And now you can see that our candy is now popped or much more visible and also grabbing attention compared to other candies that are available in the image. So this is how you can use the adjustment layer and separate out each object in your image which you do not want to apply the adjustment layer to. Now let's move on to our next document. So in this document, you can see that we have a poster of an astronaut. Now let's add a new adjustment layer to this poster right here. So to add a new adjustment layer, we'll be navigating up to our pixel menu item and navigating below new adjustment layer and then select brightness and contrast adjustment layer to add a brightness and contrast adjustment layer effect to our poster image. So now you can see that a new brightness and contrast box has popped up. Now simply click on the brightness slider and we can simply adjust the brightness slider to maintain how much brightness do we want in our poster like so. I'll set it to 12% for now. And next, let's add a contrast as well. I'll increase the contrast a bit like so. I'll set it to 42% for now. And then close the brightness contrast box. Now you can see that as soon as we have added the brightness and contrast adjustment layer, the new brightness and contrast adjustment layer has been added inside artboard 1 and above all the design elements that are available in the layers panel. So right now you can see that the brightness and contrast adjustment layer has been placed as a child layer inside the artboard 1, which is above all the other elements of the poster. So basically what is being done here is that the brightness and contrast adjustment layer effect is being applied to all of the layers below this particular brightness and contrast adjustment layer. So what if we want not to apply this effect to the texture of the poster? So to do that, simply click and drag it below the texture layer. And now you can see that in our poster, it has made a slight changes just now. And the brightness and contrast adjustment is now being applied to all the layers like text and other design elements that are below the brightness and contrast adjustment layer. And it is not being applied to our texture. Now similarly, we can also apply the adjustment layer by selecting the artboard 1. Now let's select artboard 1 and now let's navigate up to our pixel menu item and then navigate below to new adjustment layer and then select any of the adjustment layer from the option provided here. For this, I'll be selecting an adjustment layer of recolor to add a much more monotonous color, or to add a color cast to our poster that is available here. And you can see here that we have added the recolor adjustment layer to our poster here, which has created a new recolor adjustment layer directly inside of artboard 1, which acts as a child layer. Now we can change the hue as per our preference like this to make the overall tone or color tone of the poster much more monotonous like so. And I'll leave it as red for now. We can also adjust the saturation, which is available right here as you can see like so. And we can also adjust the lightness if we want to set the overall tone or ambience of this particular poster. I'll increase the lightness a bit. Let's say I'll set it to 14% for now, and then I'll close the recolor adjustment layer box right here. And now you can see that the recolor adjustment layer has been applied to all of the layers below, including the recently added adjustment layer of brightness and contrast adjustment layer. We can also toggle the visibility off of the brightness and contrast adjustment layer right here in order to check how will the overall poster look when only the recolor adjustment layer is being applied. Or else we can again toggle the visibility on and double click on the icon of the brightness and contrast adjustment layer to make the brightness and contrast adjustment layer box appear. And now we can again make the changes to the brightness and contrast settings in the poster like so, which would give a different result. And after I'm satisfied with the changes in the brightness and contrast box, now I can close the box. And this is how we can apply the adjustment layer inside of a different layers that are available inside of artboard. Now let's move on to our next document. What if there are multiple posters where we want to apply the adjustment layer to? So in order to do that, all we can do is select the topmost artboard, which is artboard 1 in our case, inside the layers panel. And after selecting the topmost artboard, now let's navigate up to the pixel menu item and then select new adjustment layer. And in here, again, let's apply the recolor adjustment layer again. And now you can see that the recolor adjustment has been placed as a child layer inside of artboard 1. And let's first of all close the recolor box which have appeared right here. And after closing, in order to apply the recolor adjustment layer to all of the other posters in other artboards, all we can do is simply click and drag, and you can see that the blue line has appeared above artboard 1, and just leave it. And let's uncollapse the artboard 1, and now you can see that the recolor adjustment layer or recolor adjustment effect has been applied to all of the poster in each individual artboard. So this is how you can apply an adjustment layer to every design or every project work in different artboards. Now these are the fundamentals of adjustment layer in Affinity. If you find this video helpful, please click on the like button, and to get more tips and tricks related to Affinity, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching this video and see you on the next video.